so here's the deal. I'm a PA. I want to do this. And he looked at me and goes, well, we don't use PAs, but I work with PAs in the emergency department all the time. I'll get back to you. And as it turned out, he was the president of MSF USA. And a week later, I was contacted, and 2 weeks after that, I was in New York for an interview to go for training with MSF Holland. And so I went over, took 2 weeks of training in Amsterdam on how to work as part of the multinational team, and several months later then I did my first mission with MSF, and I went to northwest Somalia, a place called Somaliland, not to be confused with Disneyland, and so this was the former British colony of Somalia, and I was there as the project medical coordinator, or country medical coordinator, and so in a bit of a role reversal, I was actually overseeing the care being provided by the doctors, the local Somali doctors. I had a 200-bed hospital and then 10 clinics out in the bush that I was overseeing. And so I would go out and, it was more of an administrative role, but at the same time, having the medical background that I did allowed me to have the conversation and make ward rounds with the doctors and actually question why they were doing things, or have them teach me something about how they did things. And ultimately, while we were there, we had a flash flood in the area back in our base of operations in Djibouti. And cholera was an ongoing threat there, and we ended up setting up a cholera treatment center. And because I was the senior medical person around, I was responsible for the medical care. And so the local staff, we had locally skilled nurses and some doctors, and we had a hospital that we could refer our patients to. But a lot of the stuff, just taking care of the kids, more kids than anyone else, was just dealing with, profound dehydration from vomiting and diarrhea. And so the local staff was good at going through and putting in peripheral IVs or doing scalp veins and things like that in the little kids. But if they couldn't get it, then it turned to me, and I would have to go ahead and have them. In a couple of cases, we actually had the kids being held upside down so that their neck veins could distend, and I could do a external jugular stick and rehydrate them that way. And I stopped looking at things as just as a clinician, but also started looking at things as, how do we fix the systems, okay? This was cholera because the public health system there had broken down. There was poor water, poor sanitation. And so this was going to be a recurring phenomenon. And so what it did for me was, after I finished up with MSF, I did a second mission. I went to Afghanistan with them and worked in eastern Afghanistan, where I worked with internally displaced persons, and again, overseeing the care in camps. And so one camp that had 80,000, another one that had 60,000. And just, there we had infectious disease and war wounds as well. And so landmine injuries and things like that. But we, the public health aspect of everything came back, and I said, I need to do, some additional training. And so I went through and I started taking courses at Johns Hopkins in refugee health, and then I finished my master's in public health at Boston University. And then went back and did another mission to Afghanistan, looking at program assessment and how programs were working and how do you enhance those programs.